I knew something was off the third time she canceled on me in a single week. It wasn't even the cancellations themselves. People get busy, life happens. It was the timing. Always last minute. Always a vague excuse. Work ran late. My sister needs me. I'm just exhausted. I'm Daniel, and up until a few months ago, I thought I had a steady, predictable life. I worked a decent job, had a small but solid group of friends, and was in a relationship that felt safe. Her name is Mia. We'd been together for almost 2 years. She was warm, funny, a little chaotic in a way I found charming at first. Back then, I trusted her completely. If you asked me, I would have said we were happy. We talked about moving in together. Maybe even marriage someday. So when she texted, "I'm so sorry, can we reschedule?" I didn't question it. Not yet. But something in my gut started whispering. And I ignored it. Looking back, the signs were there long before I admitted it. Mia had always been a bit unpredictable, but it used to feel spontaneous, not suspicious. She'd plan something romantic, then suddenly change it into something else. I thought it was just her personality. But then the pattern shifted. She started canceling more often. Not just dates, important things. Dinner with my parents. My best friend's birthday. Even a weekend trip we'd planned for months. Each time, there was a reason. Always urgent. Always just believable enough. And I bought it. I told myself relationships require flexibility. That I shouldn't be controlling. That trust means giving someone space. But there were little things. She stopped answering calls as often. Her phone was suddenly always on silent. She'd smile at messages and tilt the screen away from me. Once I joked, "Secret boyfriend?" And she laughed a little too hard. I laughed too. Because it was easier than asking questions I wasn't ready to hear the answers to. The night everything shifted didn't feel dramatic at first. We had plans to meet for dinner. I'd even made a reservation, something she always said she loved, that I put in effort. An hour before, she texted, "Hey. I feel awful. I think I'm coming down with something. Rain check?" I stared at the message longer than I should have. Something about it felt rehearsed. I typed back, "Are you okay? Want me to bring you soup or something?" There was a pause. Longer than usual. Then, "No, I just need rest. Please don't come over." That part stuck with me. Please don't come over. Not, "You don't have to." Not, "I'll be okay." Just a firm boundary I hadn't heard from her before. For the first time, I didn't respond right away. Instead, I just sat there, staring at her message, feeling something unfamiliar creep in. I wish I could say I handled it maturely. I didn't. About 20 minutes later, I was in my car, driving toward her apartment. I told myself I was being a good boyfriend. That I was checking on her. That any decent person would do the same. But deep down I knew. I wanted to see if she was lying. Her building was quiet when I got there. Her car was in the lot. That eased me, a little. I walked up, rehearsing what I'd say. Something casual. Something caring. When I knocked, there was no answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. But I could hear something inside. Movement. Voices. My chest tightened. I stepped closer to the door, holding my breath. And then I heard it. A man's voice. Low. Familiar in a way I couldn't place yet. My stomach dropped out. I didn't knock again. I just stood there, frozen, like if I didn't move, maybe none of it would be real. Inside, I heard her laugh. Not sick. Not tired. Not anything like the person who had texted me an hour ago. Happy. Comfortable. Intimate. The door suddenly opened. Mia stood there, eyes wide, her expression shifting from confusion to something else entirely. Fear. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" I didn't answer. I just looked past her. And there he was. standing in her living room like he belonged there. My older brother. Ethan. For a second, my brain refused to process it. It didn't make sense. The pieces didn't fit. Mia, I finally said, my voice barely working. Ethan stepped forward. It's not what you think. I actually laughed. Because somehow, that made it worse. It's not what I think. I repeated louder this time. Mia stepped outside, closing the door behind her like she could contain the situation, like the truth wasn't already spilling out everywhere. Daniel, please, just listen. No. I cut her off. You don't get to say that. Not right now. I looked at her, really looked at her, searching for something familiar. The person I loved. The person I trusted. But all I saw was someone I didn't recognize. How long? I asked. She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Don't lie to me again, I said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. A few months. A few months. While she was still telling me she loved me. While we were planning a future. I felt something inside me crack. And him? I asked, my voice trembling. Of all people, him? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Ethan came outside then, like he had any right to be part of that conversation. Daniel, I was going to tell you. I turned on him so fast I think it surprised all of us. When? I snapped. After how long? After you were done? He ran a hand through his hair, avoiding my eyes. It just happened. I laughed again, but there was no humor in it this time. Yeah, things just happen, right? You accidentally start sleeping with your brother's girlfriend. Totally normal. Mia started crying harder. Please stop. No, I said. You don't get to cry like you're the victim here. The worst part? Ethan didn't even look ashamed. Not really. Uncomfortable, sure. But not broken the way I felt. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Repeated, deliberate, and hidden. And I had been the only one in the dark. I left before I did something I'd regret. I don't even remember the drive home. All I remember is the noise in my head. Every cancelled plan. Every late reply. Every weird look. It all rearranged itself into something ugly and undeniable. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had built something behind my back. And I had helped them do it by trusting them. When I got home, my phone was already blowing up. Calls. Messages. Both of them. I didn't answer. Instead, I sat on the floor of my apartment and stared at nothing. I tried to cry, but nothing came out. Just this hollow, suffocating feeling. I kept thinking about all the times she canceled plans. All the times I said, "It's okay." All the times I chose to believe her. I wasn't just hurt. I felt stupid. The next morning, my mom called. That's when I knew it had spread. Daniel, she said carefully, Ethan told me there was some kind of misunderstanding. I almost hung up right then. A misunderstanding? I repeated. Is that what he's calling it? There was a pause. Can you come over? She asked softly. I didn't want to. But I went anyway. When I got there, Ethan was already sitting at the table. Like nothing had changed. Like we were about to have a normal family conversation. I didn't sit down. Say it, I told him. He frowned. Say what? The truth, I said. Out loud. In front of her. He hesitated. And again, that hesitation said everything. Finally, he muttered. We've been seeing each other. My mom looked between us, confused. Seeing each other how? I closed my eyes. Because I couldn't believe I had to hear it again. Sleeping together, I said flatly. The room went completely silent. My mom's face changed in a way I'll never forget. Shock first. Then disappointment. Then something heavier. How could you do this? She asked Ethan. But even that question felt wrong. Because it wasn't just him. She knew he was my brother, I said quietly. And he knew she was my girlfriend. Either of them argued. There was no defense. No explanation that could make it better. Just silence. That awful, suffocating silence. Eventually, my mom said, "We'll fix this." And that's when something in me snapped again. "No," I said. "You won't. Because this wasn't something you fix. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a mistake. This was a line that had been crossed so completely, there was no going back. Not for me. Mia didn't stop trying to reach me. At first it was constant, calls at all hours, long messages, voice notes I never opened. Then it shifted into something quieter but somehow heavier. Paragraphs of apologies. Explanations I didn't ask for. Words like mistake, and confused, and it didn't mean anything at first. I read some of them. I wish I hadn't. She wrote about how it just happened. How Ethan had been there when we were going through a rough patch I didn't even know we were having. She said she didn't plan for it to go this far. That she still loved me. That part made me physically sick. Because love doesn't look like secrecy. It doesn't look like lies layered on top of more lies. It doesn't involve choosing someone else over and over again while pretending everything is fine. One evening, she showed up at my apartment again. This time, she knocked for a long time. Not aggressively, just persistently. Like she believed I would eventually give in. "Daniel, please," she said through the door, her voice raw. "I know you're in there. I just need 5 minutes." I stood on the other side, close enough to hear her breathing. My hand even hovered over the handle for a second. I wanted answers. I wanted to understand how we got here, how something that felt so stable turned into this. But another part of me, the part that still had some self-respect left, knew that whatever she said wouldn't change anything. So I stayed silent. Eventually, her voice cracked. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you like this." And then she left. I didn't open the door until long after her footsteps disappeared. Losing Mia hurt, but losing Ethan, that was something else entirely. He wasn't just my brother in the technical sense. He was the person who knew me longer than anyone else. The one constant in my life. We grew up sharing a room, whispering about stupid things late at night, covering for each other when we got into trouble. When our parents fought, we stuck together. There's this unspoken belief that no matter what happens in life, your sibling is someone who won't betray you in that way. I used to believe that without question. Now it just feels naive. After everything came out, he tried reaching out too, but in a completely different way than Mia. Short messages. Almost cold. "Can we talk? I know you're upset, but we should handle this like adults." That one actually made me angry enough to respond. "Like adults?" I typed back. "You mean like sleeping with your brother's girlfriend for months and then calling it a misunderstanding?" He didn't reply for a while. Then, "I didn't plan for it to happen." It was the same line. The same excuse. Like either of them understood that the planning wasn't the issue. It was the choosing. Every day. I stopped responding after that. Because I realized something painful. I wasn't just grieving the relationship I lost. I was grieving the version of my brother I thought existed. And that person was gone. Or maybe he never existed at all. Time didn't fix anything the way people said it would. It just made everything quieter. The initial shock faded, but what replaced it wasn't peace. It was this dull, constant awareness that something fundamental had changed. Family gatherings became a nightmare. At first, I avoided them completely. I made excuses: work, being tired, not feeling well. But eventually, my mom convinced me to come to one. "It's been weeks," she said. "We can't just stop being a family." I didn't have the energy to argue. So I went. And it was exactly as bad as I expected. Ethan was there. Mia wasn't, but somehow her absence made it worse. Like this invisible tension sitting at the table with us. Nobody knew how to act. My mom tried to keep things normal, asking about work, making small talk, but every pause felt loaded. At one point, Ethan tried to speak to me directly. "Hey," he said, like we were just two guys catching up. I didn't even look at him. That silence stretched for too long. Eventually, he muttered, "We can't avoid each other forever." That's when I finally spoke. "Watch me," I said. The table went quiet again. And in that moment, I realized something painful. Even if they wanted things to go back to normal, I didn't. Because normal didn't exist anymore. I changed in ways I didn't expect. Not all at once, but gradually. At first, it was small things. I stopped sharing as much with people. I became more private, more guarded. Conversations felt like something to navigate instead of something to enjoy. Then it went deeper. I started questioning everything. If someone canceled plans, my mind immediately went somewhere dark. If someone smiled at their phone, I noticed. If someone said, "Trust me," it almost had the opposite effect. It wasn't just about relationships. It was about how I saw people. Before all this, I believed that if you treated people well, they'd treat you well back. That trust was something you could build and rely on. Now, that belief felt fragile. Almost childish. I even tried dating again a few months later. It didn't go well. She was nice. Normal. No red flags. But I couldn't relax. Every time she didn't reply quickly, I felt that same knot in my stomach. Every time she changed plans, even for valid reasons, my mind went straight back to Mia. It wasn't fair to her. So I ended it before it got serious. Afterward, I sat there wondering if this is just who I am now. Someone who keeps people at a distance because getting close feels like a risk. It's been over a year now, and on the surface, my life looks fine again. I go to work. I see friends. I function. But there's this quiet shift inside me that never fully reversed. I don't talk to Mia at all anymore. She eventually stopped trying, which I guess was inevitable. Ethan is still around, technically. We exist in the same family, but that's about it. We don't talk unless we absolutely have to. Even then, it's short, polite, and completely empty. Whatever bond we had is gone. And I don't think it's coming back. Sometimes I think about that night, standing outside her door, hearing her laugh. That moment before everything fell apart. There's a version of my life where I just went home that night. Where I never found out, at least not then. And I wonder if that would have been easier. But then I realize, living in a lie isn't really easier. It just delays the damage. I still don't have a clean lesson from all of this. No neat conclusion. Just this understanding. The people you trust the most are the ones who can hurt you the deepest. And once that line is crossed, you don't just lose them. You lose the version of yourself that believed they never would.